That is it. Sell that rip. Not because that's what I want to do, but that's like you said, that's what's worked just about every time more recently. Let's move to the first slide. God, tariffs here, tariff. I can't even keep up. I mean, I really can't. I can't even keep up at this point. And the European Union was the latest the other day, and tariffs, the discussion of tariffs on alcoholic beverages and whiskey, and that was sort of coming from the. So I just can't even keep up, man. There's too many tariffs to keep up with.
I need my Irish whiskey, just so you know. I need my Irish whiskey, so they better not. Right, Tony? We need our.
100%. Yeah. You're there. I agree. Yep.
Yeah, I actually put a poll in the YouTube chat yesterday, like what wanted to gauge people what they were thinking. I think 42% of the people said they didn't care, but most of the people were a little annoyed. There's like, this is the last straw. I mean, this is the last straw. And now they're talking about recession, and you know how that goes with the markets, right? But we're at 4-week lows is the real thing here. I've been saying to people for the last 2 years, look, these CPI, PPI numbers, we're moving on these now, but sooner or later they're not going to matter. And personally, it was obvious to me this week that it didn't matter. We didn't move on those hardly at all. They didn't really put a dent in the market.
Yep.
Crude oil. What do you think about crude oil here? It's down for the 8th consecutive week. What do you guys think about crude oil here?
It's ugly.
Lowest weekly close since August 2021. My Taiwanese sources tell me. So good for the pocket of the American consumer. Volatility isn't right there for a trade for me yet.
Totally agree. It's rare that we have an asset where, like you just said, it's good for the consumer, right? Like in this case, there's always that with oil that we can draw back on. Metals have been bid. These are year-to-date numbers. Gold up 12%, silver up 18%, copper up 23% recently. Whether it's tariffs or whatever else, they've been catching a bid more recently. And then VIX futures, of course, is in backwardation for the second straight week. VVIX, though, did pull back, a little bit, back to like 115 and change. It was above 120 plus, as I guess maybe slowing options activity just a little bit here. We're not seeing like that million a day in VIX options. So let's move to the next slide and take a look at some VIX curves here. Like we said, this is the 4th week of the drawdown. You can see every step of the way, VIX has been getting pretty bid here. 2 weeks in a row of backwardation. Sooner or later, I'm going to have to pull out the backwardation chart. I mean, we're ways off from how long we've been in backwardation. I think the last time we had multiple weeks was like 2022, probably, where we were, backwardated for a while. So, this is still at early stages here. Nothing to really get too upset about. Let's move to the next slide. I talked about correlation last week, but I did want to put it in context. So this is a chart of 1-month correlation and 3-month correlation. Obviously, correlation rises when we have a lot of drawdowns like we have right now, where you see a lot of things getting sold together, whether it's equities or, a bunch of different assets, right? Particularly if you got a lot of stocks getting sold off together. But just to put it in context, I kind of did a little dotted line here at the level of 40 for pretty much both of them. And you can see where we are right now. Like 3-month correlation is sitting just under 30, and 1-month correlation is about, let's call it 35. And then you compare it to some of the other things. I mean, that August-September drawdown, 1-month correlation jumped to 40. You have to go back to that banking crisis in March of 2023, where both were above 40, right? So those were really fearful levels. October of 2022, again, going back to 2022, were some really, really bad times as far as correlation and volatility. So just want to put it in context. I know we've jumped up here, but I mean, when you compare that to the SVB crisis and then during 2022, we're still not at really, really fearful levels yet, believe it or not.
Well, definitely not as measured by VIX, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I kind of scared the children last week when I came on, so I'm just trying to balance it out just a little bit.
I'm going to stick with my VIX expiration Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, where I don't think we're out of the woods really. And then you've got expiration coming on Friday. I don't know. I'm going to stick with. We still got a little bit more volatility to come going into next week, and maybe we cool down the week after. Maybe catch a little bit of two-sided action with maybe a little bit of upward bias. I'd like to see it come earlier. I just don't think it's going to.
Yeah, that's a good. Actually, yeah, let's back up one, John, real quick. You're right. I forgot.
I mean, it's a
VIX
good
expires
story.
next week,
Nobody
right?
knows anything.
March VIX.
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah,
So
March
we're
5th
looking at the blue
expires
line
next Wednesday. Next
and
Wednesday.
so,
And today's futures roll day.
Right.
Yeah.
So next week, this one that's at 23 will be the front month, right? So April. Yeah. Okay. Let's move ahead, and then one more. Yeah, just looking at a couple of different assets here. It's kind of interesting when you look at what's positive and what's negative. So nat gas, Chinese stocks have been fairly positive more recently, have held up. Gold and this is on the year, so year to date. And then you look at TLT has been positive. For the flip side, obviously it's equities in the form of SPY, Qs, and IWM. We just mentioned how oil is not doing well year to date. And then, of course, the Bitcoin name. So it's just kind of an interesting spray chart, right? When you look at what's up and what's not. I mean, this is as weird as it gets in a way, but like not really.
Yeah.
People are going for gold and bonds, and nat gas is doing whatever it's doing, and Chinese stocks. And then, of course, equities are getting rocked as along with oil. You don't necessarily see that too often, but it's something else.
Yep. You're true.
Let's move to the next slide. This is a metric I always like to look at, and we'll see how far this goes. But this is a ratio of consumer discretionary to consumer staples. Anytime we're having a bad market, consumer discretionaries are going to get rocked. People are going to run to the consumer staples, like the Johnny Johns of the world and et cetera. Procter and Gamble's, all that. And right now, we're seeing a dip, kind of like we saw in 2022 in this ratio. And we need this thing to turn around. Obviously, if the market turns around, this thing is going to turn around. But it's just another way of looking at, how fearful, I guess, away. You see volatility go up. People are going to run to the consumer staples. They're going to run away from the consumer discretionary. And that's kind of, typical. So we'll see how long this continues.
Yep.
Let's move to the next slide. We're at that weird time of the year, March to April, where it's, I don't know, none of the data really matters. It's kind of a strange time of the year. And so there's not really much news. Bank of Canada, they cut rates once again, which is interesting to me. They said, the hell with it. We're still cutting rates. We don't care what's going on with this tariff stuff. Intel had a new CEO. So, what's funny though? Like, how many times have we seen this where a company like this has been around a long time, stock's gotten, a serious haircut. I mean, stock was double a year ago. And now, I don't even know if it was a year ago. And then now we see where it is. They got a new CEO. Every time they get hyped up about something with a stock like this, this is it. That's going to bounce back. But I don't know, man. I mean, Intel, I just think it doesn't seem like it's going to find its glory days. I don't know who would care who the CEO is. We'll see how it goes. So that's just my personal thought. Retail sales.
They needed a new CEO.
They needed something.
But is it? Maybe it's just it's beyond their time. I mean, Intel's old, right? Intel's like 70s, late 70s, I think. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's Tom's age.
Yeah, it is. Almost got a job there a long time ago. I could have been in Portland. It would have been in Portland. I forget where they're. Obviously their fab is like California, whatever. It would have been in Portland. Anyway, retail sales are Monday, March 17th. Fed week again. I don't know. I mean, we don't expect any changes at the rates, but we'll see what Powell says. He's going to get grilled a million times on tariffs and how it affects rates and et cetera. I'm sure he won't answer, but it is what it is. Bank of England has a rate decision on Thursday. And then, of course, we got options expiration on Friday. March 10 research, market measure, profit from the market panic. Good research. Check it out.
Good job out of you. Intel, July 18th, 1968.
Damn, 68.